Yeah, go for it. Let's roll.
Let's roll. So I'm. It's welcome to Matrix Live. Ben here, and I'm here with Half-Shot, who is Will, that guy who do the bridges.
Do the bridges.
How is it going over there?
It's good. It's busy in Bridgeland as always. Lots to talk about, lots to see and do.
I hear you are a
Yep,
published author. Is that right?
that is right. We first had Bridges the scribble notes, and now we've got Bridges the book, and we're coming on to having Bridges the film when it gets there. But
This
for
is
now,
this is
let's
the film.
talk about the book.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Uh,
So, what have you done?
so the Major Bridge people spend a lot of time doing support questions, and the problem we have is we have so much bandwidth going to waste, I think, over all these support questions. And there's a lot of knowledge that we have, I believe, that we need to share out, basically, especially around the IRC side. The IRC bridge is incredibly complex beast, especially setting it up. And when you got big people like Freenode and OFTC trying to use your network, it's good if they also have documentation to refer to. So we wrote some documentation, basically, using the Markdown MD-Doc Rust project, which you can see here on my lovely screen share, which has different colors. I forgot to mention it has different colors, like that.
Oh,
The best
I
feature.
didn't know it had that.
Yeah, it's nice. So you can get this lovely Rust brown. Anyway, so this is the documentation system that Rust use, I believe, for their spec system, and this is also documentation that we use now for Matrix because it's just a beautiful Markdown-based project. You get this, I think, quite a nice formatted list of things, and so we've been using it to basically document the entire process. The nice thing about this is it documents both from the IRC operator side. So there's a page here to explain if you're an IRC user, an IRC network operator, how Matrix intercommunicates with your bridge, which is a nice thing because often we have questions from the IRC side. And I think this is a good way to have a canonical set of information for people who are unfamiliar with Matrix, or why, for example, they have all these M suffixes.
Yeah.
Which is handy. We've also got administrator's guide, especially around advanced configurations. So obviously Matrix has a 25,000 user Matrix bridge for the Matrix user side anyway. And so with that comes a lot of scaling problems. And often we tend to make lots of changes on the back end and don't tell anybody about that because it's done on the fly. Obviously the code is open source, but it doesn't mean we necessarily explain the code. This document now explains how to do, for example, quick debouncing, membership syncing, hot reloading, all these nice, useful things that we've just never been able to explain.
Should I know what that is? Quick debouncing.
Oh, yeah, it's useful. So if you have a NetSplit in your IRC server and you suddenly get, 50,000 quits on the IRC server, most bridges would the bridge would fall down normally. So there's a technique here we call quick debouncing, which just means we save those quits to memory rather than executing those quit events.
Okay.
And sort of debounce. So if you see someone who then quits and then joins,
Right.
It merges that change, so no change happens in the IRC room,
yes,
or in the Matrix room, which sort of basically speeds the whole thing up. And stops things exploding.
And also, I mean, it just causes fewer events and makes everything smoother for the user, I suppose.
Exactly. It's just a nice performance fix that you might not know about if you didn't, spend every day working on an IRC bridge like I happen to. So it's good we have this documented. We've also got a usage guide for Matrix users who have just arrived on the network and don't know where everything is. So examples of how to join a channel, private messaging, customizing your name, and all these sort of things. And this information was already available on the wiki and the README, but it was either horribly out of date or just not a nice format. I think this is a nice readable format you can look at on your phone or send to somebody. It's been audited for good English by Christian, who does a lovely job of checking my English is up to date.
The irony of that is superb. I've been doing some PRs for you too, and it's great to watch.
Yes, definitely massive shout out to him for keeping everything legible. And so it's a cool project. We're hoping to expand this out for the other bridges as well. There is a Slack wiki, maybe. No, there is a Slack. So we also have one for Slack, the Slack bridge. If I can have a look for it, maybe it's on here. Slack, if the thing is willing to work. I have a guess. It's probably something like that. Oh, it's read the docs. That's why we have it hosted in a different place.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we need to bring that back in house. Is Read the Docs also effectively an MD book host?
It's a special. So Read the Docs is its own documentation format. I believe it uses Markdown on the back end, but it's a different system.
All right.
So this is with the help of Keda, who spent a lot of time helping us get set up here. I guess it's sort of designed differently because it's for a different class of audience. It's usually not so much the technical IRC side, but more of a friendly setting up your bridge side, as
Okay,
well
fair enough.
as. So it's been set up a bit early. It was set up before the IRC documentation as well. So yeah, it's a bit of a different format, but we're hopefully going to unify the formatting at some point, possibly using MD-Doc.
So, what's your feeling on MD-Doc? No, MD.
Oh, MD-Book. MD-Book. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. I'm enjoying it because it's less configuration heavy, as in you just have one configuration file, and then you basically create Markdown files to sort of have different chapters of your book. And I like the fact that it's very opinionated about its formatting. It doesn't have a huge amount of configuration options that the Read the Doc stuff has.
Okay.
It's also Rust-based. It's extremely quick to compile the thing. It just sort of does it instantly. There's a lot to like. It's just got all the stuff comes out. It's sort of out of the box. It just works.
Yeah.
There's one dependency, which is the binary you install, and that's it. So I love it. It's a good system.
Yeah, that sounds great. And what is it? YAML front matter with Markdown is how it works?
I believe it's entirely Markdown. So so there's a YAML or it might be TOML, one or the other.
Yeah.
Configuration file. Let me find it.
That's okay. Well, you don't need to review MD-Book on the side here.
Oh, TOML. There you go. So something like that. So it's like 6 lines of configuration to make this thing work, which is pretty good.
All right. Yeah.
So I want to talk quickly about the inspiration for this project, which I really should mention, which is obviously Travis's media repo, behemoth for documentation here, which is where sort of our interest of the MD-Book stuff came from. And it's pretty nice as well. So it's essentially, I think all of Matrix is slowly moving towards this format, because I know that Chialea, after we did our IRC bridge documentation, he then documented all of his bridges inside MD-Book as well.
Did he? Okay, I need to check that out, because his documentation was pretty mixed on his repos, so I need to check out his MD-Doc documentation.
I think there's now a general effort for everyone to move towards like an MD-Book documentation project. So it'd be nice one day if Matrix or perhaps hosted lots of these documentation in one place for users getting set up.
Yeah, I think that would be a very reasonable idea for Matrix to document. That'd be cool.
So yeah, I think there's a general effort from the bridge team on our side just to document as we go now and make an effort to make sure end users are enjoying the bridges, because we're sort of reaching that turning point where we've stopped madly making features and bridging to lots of networks, and now we're trying to mature and actually make these services reliable and well documented and interacting with Element, in a reasonable way.
Okay. I mean, we are. I guess that's showing a new maturity from the market. Okay. Cool. All right, that sounds great. So well done for actually spending some time on documentation, because it's nobody's favorite thing, and it has a value far beyond what most developers seem to apply.
I think it's a useful skill to have, and I mean we did it like the day after FOSDEM. Actually, I think it's like as soon as FOSDEM finished, I was like, okay, we need to document this thing. We spent so much time working on it. We should actually document how this whole thing works.
So, FOSDEM itself, then, what went on there from your point of view? Because there's been a blog post about it, but the bridges themselves also got some work. Did you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I to be honest, the bridges largely worked perfectly fine, and I was actually really happy with that. We set up a dedicated bridge for FOSDEM for the IRC bridge, and also set up a Discord bridge, and we used existing Slack bridge for the project, as well as the Bifrost bridge. And all of them, as far as I'm aware, largely work flawlessly. Obviously, the Bifrost bridge didn't get any updates this year because we're obviously really bricking it for FOSDEM, working very, very hard on it. So we didn't necessarily had a lot of time to do all the updates we want to do for Bifrost, but it worked, as far as I can tell, pretty flawlessly. The IRC bridge, obviously a dedicated bridge, works fairly quick.
It did great, yeah.
We had a lot of users on there, and I mean the IRC users, I believe, felt they had a native experience for them, as in they felt they had as much interaction as they could get out of the IRC protocol, so that was good.
Yeah. As much as they could get out of the protocol.
Yeah, we couldn't make widgets land in IRC in time, which is always my regret that we didn't have time to build a custom IRC client with widgets built in. But maybe next year.
It's just
but no, it worked pretty well. I was pretty pleased with that, and no performance problems really. It was good. So yeah.
Good. There's one more topic while we're on a bridge march, and that is the GSOC idea that you've had, the Google Sign Code,
yes.
which the deadline for orgs is today, which means that by the time this goes out, that form will have hopefully been completed correctly. But you have a project idea for that.
Yeah, so off the back of the Bifrost project, where we wrote a gateway bridge, which people are not in the know is a bridge where it automatically connects remote users into Matrix rooms just by the format of the room they connect to. So for Bifrost, you can join hash matrix, hashmatrix.org, at matrix.org, and it will join you to the matrix.org HQ room. There is no configuration on the Matrix side to make that happen. It's just an automatic, oh, this is the right room for this place. What we want to do is do the same thing for email. So basically, this is sort of like an automatic mailing list system for Matrix in the sense, in that as a email user, you send a message to a room, and then you automatically sort of get joined into this mailing list. And then if people send messages into the room, it gets sent back to your email address. Essentially, we're building a bridge with an SMTP server bolted onto the side as like a truly almost native experience for chat over email.
Okay.
And this could be quite a nice system, especially if you want to have notifications appear in your inbox and your email for rooms, or you just have one person who refuses not to use email for the family chat or something. There are quite a few, I believe, potential options for the email bridge, not least because you can then bridge your email to other protocols as well using Matrix. But this isn't my bridge. Be very clear, this is a GSOC project where I basically spent the morning going, wouldn't it be great if we had a gatewaying email bridge that just made everything work magically? And we're hoping there'll be someone out there who really wants to take on this project.
This is quite a big project for a student to come in. Do you think that there's a sort of sub deliverable here?
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
I hope that's not delivery. Yes, so basically, I think the minimum of like having an SMTP server that sends messages to a Matrix room is a fairly small scope piece of work. You just build use an off-the-shelf SMTP library for Node or something, and then when an email comes in, you pull out the format and stick it into a room, and then probably in reverse, when someone sends a message to a Matrix room, you use the AS API and send an email out using SMTP. I believe all that is sort of something you could achieve in about a month or less, and that is certainly enough for anybody to later go and hack on after the project if you want.
Yep.
So I believe that the scope to make this work is quite simple, but then there is so much scope for expanding if you have time. Like we could do attachments, HTML formatting, threading, all sorts of magical things, DMs. So there's so many applications just to extend further, but the actual baseline is very simple, or at least there's a few components to do at the baseline, then you can build it up.
Fair enough. No, it sounds promising. I just want to make sure that students don't think that they have to build an entire first class bridge in order to make it work. No.
Oh, absolutely not. No, most of my bridges wouldn't consider first class anyway. We're quite happy to help support. There's a bunch of people in the Matrix community.
They are excellent and highly first class.
Yes, especially ones with documentation. You won't be expected to write your own documentation to the same standards to make sure bridge. But it would be good. Anyone basically wants to get involved in this project as well could come hang out in the Bridges room on Matrix.org and just say hi and say, is this too much for a challenge? And I'll go, no, it's a really good, fun challenge to spend your summer doing. And it'll be good, especially because it also means we can improve our existing libraries for the bridges as well at the same time.
Yes.
Potentially to support gatewaying or TypeScript or many other things we could do.
Fantastic. Okay, so we've talked about the new documentation, MD book. We've talked about GSOC. We talked about your thoughts on the FOSDEM prep. Anything else going on? Anything you want to comment?
Nothing I can comment on. There's so many things I wish I could say, but
I know. There's a lot in the pipe, isn't there?
In the future, we might be able to talk about some of those projects. Rest assured, the Bridge team are working very hard on a number of things, and some of those things you've heard about today.
All right. Will, who is Half-Shot, thank you very much. See you soon. Thanks, Matrix Live.
See you. Bye.